crisis with Dangote refinery. Of course, we have a truth now, in as much as like peace in the graveyard. Then PDP is in the news again because Anyanwu, who is the national secretary, he has contrasted the statement that the PDP spokesperson made on the Akwa Ibom State PDP Congress, which produced somebody which PDP denied that it wasn't aware of. So we are going to see some of these very things on today's dailies, and we urge you to stay with us as we open the front pages of these very newspapers. So we have a four of them as usual. We have Vanguard newspaper, we have The Nation, we have Guardian, and The Punch. And to begin with the headlines on Vanguard newspaper: Nigeria at 65, opposition leaders, others take Tinubu to task. The story is on page 5. He has plenty of riders. One of them says Tinubu unmoved, uncaring amid hunger, bandit attacks. Atiku is the one saying so. Nigeria failing under APC. Obi: if the worst is over, why are Nigerians still dying? ADC: we are hungry for food, not statistics. Khan: Nigeria's future bleak under leaders with entitlement mentality. Anglican primate. Everybody speaking. Then above the nameplate, we have three headlines here. One says Tinubu not jittery about opposition. Presidency is the one saying so. The story is on page 8. Death of Arise TV anchor. Some Tochukwu jumped from third floor. FCT police boss. The story is on page 7. I think we highlighted this yesterday, talking about what had emerged regarding the way she died. Pengasson suspends strike after FG's intervention. The story is on page 8. Stock market investors earn 1.8 trillion naira in September amid CBN's reforms. The story is on page 20 of Vanguard newspaper. Then you see a picture story of Mr. President, his wife, and Wole Soyinka, likewise Governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu. Yesterday there was should I call it inauguration of the National Theatre, which has been renovated and which has been renamed after Wole Soyinka. So that explains the picture story you are having on the front page of Vanguard newspaper. 2027, Amechi Obi-Utomi executively push to end courtroom democracy. The story is on page 8. Obi Lagos government differ over trade fair complex demolition. The story is on page 10. US shut down visa passport services to continue in Nigeria embassy. The story is on page 9. Maybe Tony will have time to talk about this, what is happening in America, where the government is under shutdown, and there is fear that some workers might be laid off because the Senate failed to pass the funding bill in America. Iyaloja General is alien to us, Oba of Benin. The story is on page 12. And that is the last headline we have on the front page of Vanguard this very morning.
And of course, from the Vanguard newspaper, we proceed to The Nation. Banner headline here: Governors renew pledge to speed up development in states, and has a couple of riders, or a rider, I'd say. Subnationals, helmsmen use Independence Day to reflect on economic reforms in security. Others. This story is on page 2. Shoyinka: why I accepted renaming of National Arts Theatre after me. Has a rider. President directs creation of fund for maintenance on page 3. 26 die in Kogi boat accident on page 27. How Arise TV reporter died by neighbors on page 27. Fubara Sachs Exco ready to submit commissioner nominees list to assembly on page 3. Anyanwu avoids Damagum's suspension of Akwa Ibom PDP Exco on page 27. Pengasson fears collapse of deal with Dangote refinery on page 5. And on page 3, Carly projects inflation's drop to 14%. The rider: reforms need sustenance. Find this story on page 3.
Okay, so over to the headlines on Punch newspaper. Pengasson strike. NNPC lament losses as union holds action. The story is on page 2 with riders. 16% of crude oil output, 30% of gas supply disrupted during strike. Disputes risk economic instability. FG. Pengasson suspension not cancellation. We will strike again if deal fails. Dangote denies victimizing staff. Then another headline on page 3 says Nigerians languish in prisons after Ethiopia stole MOUs. And then Kogi boat crash, death toll hits 26, Tinubu months. The story is on 4 and 5 of Punch newspaper. Each time I see a story about boat crashing and people dying and government issuing statement upon statements, it makes me believe that we are never serious in this very country, because I don't know how long we keep on issuing these very statements why people continue to die, and we fail to do the honorable thing, which is going into that very sector and then doing thorough regulation and ensuring that anybody who operates in that very sector must comply with that regulation. Then we get over to another headline that says Wale Tinubu backs African Energy Award in South Africa. The story is on page 27. Nigerian arrested for attempted trafficking of daughter to Iraq. The story is on page 5 of Punch newspaper. Nigeria's 8-month debt service bill hits $2.86 billion CBN. Check page 30 of Punch newspaper. Fubara sacks commissioners, others. The story is on page 3. Nigeria at 65. Tinubu's reforms yet to ease hardship. Experts. The story is on page 27. One doctor attends to 9,083 Nigerians. NAD laments. The story is on page 2. And the final headline here says 853 billion naira crime proceeds recovered in 1 year. EFCC. The story is on page 3. And some Nigerians might ask you, after the recovery, where is the money?
Where is the money? I'm also asking. Let's go over to the Guardian newspaper. The banner headline here: leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering a democracy, on page 6. Tinubu, Ododo mourn as victims of Kogi boat mishap, rise to 26, on page 30. Dangote's rift with Pengasan unfortunate, says man, on page 3. Probe plot to fleece Ocean local governments of 12.75 billion naira. PDP tells IGP. EFCC, on page 3.
Okay, so these are the headlines we have this very morning on the 4 newspapers we have. Like we told you that we are live on our social media platforms on Instagram and YouTube. We are the Radio 104.7 FM. Don't forget that we normally have a repeat broadcast of this very program by 2 a.m. So in case you want to tell somebody about it, tell the person can have a repeat broadcast, listen to it at that time. Stay with us. We'll be right back for us to begin this very conversation.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, thank you once more for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You're listening to the Polity on the seriously authentic radio station. My name is Franklin and Ebuka, Olisa Mbeki and Chisom. All of us are together for today's analysis, and we have to begin with the big story, which is about Nigeria's independence, 65th independence anniversary. And so I'm going to begin with this very background because yesterday it was all about independence speeches of rhetoric and false expression of patriotism and the calls for nation building. From the president to the leaders of National Assembly to governors, lawmakers, whether at the state or federal level, all of them were making speeches calling for action, asking Nigerians to unite and build a nation, acknowledging the effort of our past leaders who fought for independence. So it was all about glowing tribute to the founding fathers of our independence, and then talking about the effort they are making to ensure that life gets better for Nigerians. But if you look at the writing on ground, it seems as if it's the story of Mrs. Old Monkey marrying Mr. Old Monkey. It seems like it's all about rhetorics where these people cease to use opportunities to talk about glowing things, whereas in reality none of them gets to walk the talk. I can recall our experiences then back in Enugu. That should be in the 90s during independence. We used to wait for Independence Day. It was as big as Christmas celebration. The streets of Enugu will be flooded with celebration, from Acha layout to Independence layout to Obiagu to Camp, Onwasata, just name them. Everywhere will be celebration because of independence. People were so much happy to celebrate independence. But these days, once we have independence, everybody's lamenting about how Nigeria hasn't progressed 65 years after independence. And yesterday, the president said the worst is over, and he took time to reel out what he believed that his government has achieved in the past 2 years. That's the one he called the 12 milestones of the government. And since then, we have seen different reactions coming from the opposition. Atiku has spoken, P2B has spoken, ADC spoke, and so many others, even CAN and the Anglican Communion, like we highlighted. And they're all asking questions about these things you have said, that these things you are saying that the worst is over. Is it in our own reality or in the reality of the government? So let's begin from there. The speech Mr. President made yesterday, was it fallacious? Was he speaking above the head of Nigerians? And then what you make of the reactions we have seen during that coming from the opposition? The opposition, are they coming from the point of politics, or they are speaking to the fact on ground?
Yesterday, remember, we were so much engrossed with independence, and we got the speech of Mr. President overlooked, but not because we wanted to, but the time was not there. So now we have the opportunity to probably look at that very speech. There is no doubt, and we have seen speeches before now, and then just as expected, Mr. President rolled out quite a lot of things his government has achieved, and he was so much talking about economy, and then he made us understand that the country as we speak today had a surplus, trade surplus. In fact, has even met the physical target for 2025 non-oil fiscal target, and according to him, that was met in August. So the truth remains, many people have had their fair share of what they felt or what they thought wasn't going right. So in all of this, we are left to ponder on some of these things. If you look around, Mr. President told us that we had GDP growth of 4.23% in the second quarter of 2025. Inflation dropped to 20.12%, and non-oil revenue over 20 trillion. Trade surplus of up to 44.3%. And he did say quite a lot that the removal of subsidy has shored up the revenue base of the country. And he said that these funds have been redirected, or they have been redirected to funding infrastructure and social services. So, but just like I've always said, I can go on and tell you different speeches we've had, and that speech Mr. President made yesterday tells you a lot. I think last year when he was giving the same speech, he made us understand that the worst was over. So I was curious, and I was also surprised to see the same message again, that the worst was over. So if Mr. President told us in 2024 during Independence Day speech that the worst was over, how come he is bringing back the same statement that the worst was over? So for me, there is so much work to be done. You know, some of these speeches, if you look at it, there are areas he did not even touch. He didn't talk about anything about reforms expected in our electoral system. He didn't talk about the government fight against corruption. There are so many things he did not talk. He didn't talk about the cost of living being so hard, being so high, and effort governments, even from both federal down to the state and local government, even when we know he cannot speak for them, but effort different governments are making to mitigate this hardship. Nigerians have quite a lot of problems. Housing problem, housing and accommodation problem, water problem, because many of us don't drink clean water, and we also have lack of different medical facilities. I think there are so many things Nigerians are passing through, because if you look at that very speech, it's more elitist for me, because when you talk about building airports, building coastal highway, super highway, some of these things, they are elitist, if you ask me. But his speech did not address certain concerns and basic concerns of Nigerians. Because an average Nigerian wants to have an employment. He didn't talk about unemployment and what government is doing to bring down the unemployment ratio to a little figure. And there are so many people who are unemployed. They are ready to work 15 hours in a week.
You mean underemployed?
Unemployed, that's it. They are ready to work for 15 hours in a week, but they see themselves having just a paltry 1 hour or 2 hours. And that's, for me, not employment, and it will not go long way to take care of their basic needs. So these are things Mr. President did not address. The human aspect of life, he did not address in his speech. He was so much concerned about where we are coming from, the gains his government had made, and he could also remember that APC put Nigerians there. So telling us that the GDP to revenue and debt to revenue service has fallen below 50%. That before, when he came in as a president, our revenue to debt was 97%. That was what he said during his speech yesterday. That it has been reduced to below 50%.
Can we possibly take a look at this from another perspective? Because the things that have not been done are virtually what has always been at the fore. But can we try to see this from the president's prism? I mean, judging by where we are coming from and where we are at the moment, if where we are at the moment is better than where we were before he became the president, bearing in mind that everything has been tied around fuel subsidy and removing the harsh way that subsidy was removed. We all do know that the subsidy was becoming a criminal enterprise in the words of Peter Obi, exactly. Right? And so, taking sentiments aside, Mr. President did the right thing, possibly at the right time, or the right way, or possibly not at the right time, and possibly not the right way. But he did the right thing by removing fuel subsidy. And so, can we look at where we are coming from? Looking at the corruption that riddled the subsidy regime, have we made any gains? All of the monies that have been saved from subsidy, that have been allocated to the different states, have they made any impact? Let's look at the implementation of the new minimum wage. These are the kind of stuff that we expect, judging from where we are coming from. Have these things been checked? You have talked about things that we expect of him. Yes, these things we quite expect of him. But judging by where we are coming from, you wouldn't actually blame someone who says, I have done fairly well by doing these things, would you?
I think, yesterday we were so much concerned about our own expectations. And remember, the president...
He's no magician.
By next year, he will be 3 years in office. I think he's 2 years and some months in office. And let's look at some of the things he said he has done, and those things he has done, how these things have impacted on the people. Remember, I said his speech did not focus or center on the humanitarian aspect, on the way and manner the people live, the living standard, the living condition, issues of unemployment, and the high price of food commodities. But he said, Mr. President said that the non-oil revenue has hit 20 trillion by August. That in September alone, it got to, in fact, by monthly basis, it improved to 3.65 trillion. That it had never happened in the history of this country. That remember, Nigeria is so much reliant on oil, and for us, where a revenue exports, because when we talk about revenue, we are talking about exports, taxation, and so many other things the country has recorded. It has hit 20 trillion from January to August. 20 trillion. That it has never happened in the history. And he also said that he has restored fiscal health and debt service relief, just like I said earlier on, that before now, our debt, whatever revenue we make, all of them is plowed back in debt servicing. So what it means that we now have to borrow to pay salaries, to pay entitlements, allowances, and all that. That he has been faring better. That revenue to debt has been reduced to below 50%. and then the ways and means borrowed by past administration, that is the money printing Buhari did, where trillions of naira were printed, that he has paid off all of them. And he said that the foreign reserve is now at 42.03 billion US dollars, the highest since 2019. That's what he said, the foreign reserve. So that's our strategic reserve. And he has also said that we have high tax to GDP ratio, which moved from 10% to 13.5%, with expectation of further increase under the new tax law that will be taking effect by January 2026. That, you remember, we have global standard, and the global standard is about 20%, but that the country was coming from 10% to 13.5%. That is tax to GDP ratio. If you look at their GDP, how many percent of their tax contribute to that? That many countries in the world, there are those that have their tax to GDP ratio over 100%. So it means that the country is not paying tax before now. But Nigeria, before now, it was 10%. Now it's about 13.5%. And just like he said, that Nigeria has recorded trade surplus. What that means is the exchanges, the balance of payment you have with the world, plus or minus. Before now, we have been called an importing dependent country. So it means that now, if you check what we have exported and what we have imported, that we are on the surplus, in the sense that what we sold to the world is bigger than what we imported from the world.
So it looks to me, Tony, like everything that we count as gains with this administration is about the money made and the money spent and all of that. But there are supposed to be other key indicators outside GDP and reserves.
Exactly.
And what happens to the education sector? What gains have been made in the health
I'm going to come to that. And he said he has stabilized Naira. And we have our traders.
All about money still.
You know, he talks about economy. He has stabilized Naira, that as we speak now, the Naira has dropped to about 1,400. It's not up to 500 as we speak now. And he has reduced the gap between the official and the unofficial exchange rate, the arbitrage, as we called it. And there are so many things Mr. President talked about, in fact, but just like you said, it's centered on economy.
Okay, so before you go on, now all these things he talked about, because like Chisom pointed out, they are all about the economy, how the economy has been performing under his watch. Those statistics, are they factual? That's number one. If they are factual, then we can leave the fact that, okay, he stated the fact, but maybe we are not yet feeling the impact on our lives. Then we are now, I also want us now to look at is that statement that the worst is over. Is the worst actually over? Or the president was just speaking to the emotions of the people to see if he will be able to appeal to them, for them to give him a breather to continue.
Remember, I did say that, Mr. President, if you go to the independence speech of last year, he also said the worst at that time was over. So if you said last year that the worst was over, and this year you are saying that the worst is over, so what has changed?
What key indicators
So
are you using?
I think Mr. President will also tell us by 2026 that the worst is still over. So it becomes a continuation. For me, I think we have grappling issues that are holding Nigerians back. There is no doubt. And when he said it during that speech yesterday that 330 billion, I don't know, many of us, maybe you omitted that one. He said that 330 billion naira was given to 8 million households via social programs.
Yeah, yes, because the government has even on different occasions told us that the Minister of Finance, the humanitarian, they have all said that they will be able to share 330 billion, which we question here, asking about, okay, did the actual people who are supposed to get it get it? And if it's giving us value
and I
for
think
the money.
If you talk about 8 million households, and there was a time I did extensive analysis on this, and then I divided the percentage where they gave the North larger chunk. I think the South got 28%, the North had 72%. So how would you come about this 330 billion where you give the North 72%, the South 28%? What metric, what yardstick did you use to arrive at that? But that's by the way. And then if you come down to southern Nigeria that got 28% of 330 billion naira, how many households? Let's leave Anambra State, because some will say Anambra State ranks low when it comes to poverty index, because we know very well that in the entire southeast the most poverty-stricken state based on NBS statistics is Ebonyi State. Then after Ebonyi State, next is I think Enugu State. But if you are to use these states that for us, according to the statistics we have from the National Bureau of Statistics, that Ebonyi and Enugu they rank low when compared to other 5 eastern states. How many households in Ebonyi State? I'm not saying because somebody the other day told us that he knew someone that got it. Not someone, we are talking about household. If you say you knew someone that got it, it's not given to individual. According to Mr. President, it's given to households, family, mama, papa, and children. These are the ones these things are given to. So maybe the person may be thinking that he knew someone, maybe a man that has, or maybe his family got that. But how many? And did the people feel that? Do you know that 330 billion, do you know the mathematics I was doing yesterday? If Mr. President had decided to use that 330 billion to build 2 federal medical centers in every local government, we have 74 local governments. Then you do your mathematics, because for me, we must look at things that are practical, and we must see how to touch lives and make sure that these things are impactful. Anything that is not impactful doesn't work for me, because these people you've given this money, either you've given them 20,000 naira per month. I wonder what 20,000 naira will do for a household. But if you do 774 local governments where you have 2 hospitals, I mean federal medical centers, I'm just giving that as an example. So probably you're going to have about 1,548 medical centers in the entire country. So and then if you do, I want to do the mathematics, because my concern is for us to look at how things can impact lives. 330 billion, that's what we are told, that was expended. 330 billion. So if you look at that 330 billion that was expended, 330 billion that was expended according to Mr. President, then you divide it by about 1,400 and something, you find out that if you do that, it will cost about 4-point-something billion per one. And can 4 billion, let's put it on average, can 4 billion do a federal medical center? It can, for me. I don't know if you understand the mathematics or the arithmetic I have done here, because Mr. President said 330 billion was expended on 8 million households, and I wish many of them, those households are hungry now, and they cannot even account for where that money is. And I did simple arithmetics, and I said, if you have that 330 billion deployed to building 2 federal medical centers in every local government, and I said it would amount to about 1,548 of these medical centers. What I did was to divide 1,548 by 330 billion. These things will be lasting.
Tony, what do you think Mr. President missed with the opportunity of 2025 independence anniversary in that speech he delivered?
For me, he missed quite a lot of things. He did not really give Nigerians that hope they are talking about. He was giving elites hope that things will turn out better. Those who are importing this, those who are importing that. Because in that very speech, I think he did say something about our infrastructure. I had thought that Mr. President will tell us how he would fix electricity problem, electricity challenge we have in this country. It would have been an opportunity. Since 1960 we had independence to date. Successive governments have failed as far as that is concerned, and in fact it has become a conduit pipe for corruption. Since independence, many people cannot access electricity. Do you know that over 70% of Nigerians cannot even access electricity? And if you go back, you find out that even 100% of Nigerians cannot access electricity 24 hours. It's a big challenge. And in all of these indices, can't we do something in that area and hold it tight and say, this is what we have done? Because if you unlock the potentials surrounded in that very sector, all these things we are talking about, Nigerian economy will just leapfrog. It will just jump up. These things are no magicians, and I don't know why they're not thinking in that line. And there are other things that Mr. President did not also disclose. We are talking about how households, this household, you are giving 330 billion naira, 20,000 naira per household for a month. That's not what they need. For me, they don't need it. What they need is something engaging, something rewarding, something that will earn them something modest. So that's what they need. What is government doing in that area, in that regard? And then if you plow this into electricity, it will unlock quite a number of MSMEs and SMEs. How are they being funded? And see, you must do something that is lasting. Somebody who you gave 20,000 naira will come back next month and start begging. Just like when what's the name of this guy? The Minister of Aviation, Festus Kayamo, when he did special work program, remember that time they brought billions and shared amongst their political, talks under Buhari. Special work program, the one that brought problem, and then how they shared money to those that, according to them, that we are sweeping the roads, they were doing this, they were doing that. So how long can we continue to do things like this? We are wasting money. We are wasting resources.
Can we look at this a different way?
Okay.
What we think the people need versus what the people actually need. You talk about MSMEs, you talk about people that can actually be given, we talk to fish as against giving the fish. But we've been made to understand that the people who this money has been given to are supposedly the poorest of the poor. The ones who may not even have the requisite knowledge to work on a skill if given money to. The ones who may not have what it takes to build a business if put in a situation where they have a business to build and all of that. I've seen a couple of documentaries about this category of people in some parts of the north, and it would shock you that some of them cannot even communicate beyond the language they speak. Now, I do understand that there has to be a way around it. They could run businesses within their localities where they can manage, where they can communicate. But sometimes we realize that these people are not even interested because they have a mindset over there. The mindset that they just want to give us this day, our daily bread. Daily, once we can eat today, let tomorrow think for itself. And the federal government, somehow, on one side, encouraging it, enabling it with this social interventions program. And also, at the end of the day, would I say, keeping a network, a revolution, a circle of people who would always be in that particular, would I call it, level. And at the end of the day, no actual development comes from that side. It's just, from hand to mouth. But there is also some persons who would argue that these people just need to feed. And what the federal government is doing is to make sure that they feed, regardless of whatever perspectives that may come from what better things the money could be used for.
I think you are talking about the need to feed. Let me ask you something. These people, the poorest of the poor, because I'm aware that even 330 billion naira, as Mr. President said, did not even get directly to these people. How much of this amount was diverted? How much of this amount got into private pocket? Let's leave that for now.
We've seen projects commissioned that the money is diverted.
And we don't know the very statistics. We don't know the data because they say they used the World Bank and IMF data to enforce this, and I don't know how many households they were able to earmark those households, if they have NIN or if they were captured in any banking system or thereabouts. So let's leave that, but we can question quite a lot if we go into this. But now you've given them 20,000. A carton of noodle for the last I checked was 15,000 or thereabout. I think around 15 or 16,000. A carton of noodle. Let's assume that this household decided to eat noodle every day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and possibly use the remaining 5,000 naira to buy water as a way to dilute it or to bring it down. You find out that they will turn out to be wachokoic. It will not even add up anything. So most times you must do something that is impactful. This time around, it's not about at all. The bad pass. No. We are talking about this household. Let's assume in that very household, does it mean the papa, the mama, the pikin, none of them can do anything meaningful that will sustain the household? How do you plan for household because it not necessarily mean that it must be the father or it must be the mother, and it can be anybody in that household taking up something that can sustain the household. We've just wasted that 330 billion naira for crying out loud. And then you can quote me anyway, that money was wasted. And I'm just trying to let you know what that money could have done in area of education, what that money could have done in the area of health that can even benefit and impact more lives than giving people 20,000 naira for months. I don't know what idea, how the government conceive such very inadequate idea. That is by the way. And I said what they can do to help many households. If they actually come up with a good data about these households being the poorest of the poor, how they can be supported, what they can be doing. There are some basic things you don't need any skills to engage or to take on to.
All right, so we're going to go for a commercial break now, because from the point we are looking at is from the point of comparative analysis. Not that, because let's go this very way. There are some Nigerians that this 25,000 naira will mean so much for. There's no doubt about
household. We are not talking about some Nigerians.
Whether it's household or one person.
Talk about household.
There is a household in Nigeria that does not earn up to 10,000 in a month. So if that money comes to that very household, it's going to mean a whole lot for them. But we're talking about comparatively, what is going to be on a more sustainable basis? What is going to give us, what is going to become more beneficial? Because there is also this fear that the money might not even get to the actual people who need this very money. So I think this is the point that we're trying to drive on this whole issue. Now we're going to go for commercial break. Once we return, we'll go over to the issue of Pengasson and the Dangote refinery, because yesterday we just gave you the breaking news. We didn't talk about the terms of that very agreement, and then what Nigeria lost in that 2 days strike. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
104.7 Udala Radio. People of Upo and the entire Anambra State, get ready for a life-changing apostolic invasion. It's Upo Citywide Crusade, powered by Upo Christian Association, with the Restoration Apostle Johnson Suleiman, live in Anambra State. A divine awakening for signs and wonders. Come and witness the mighty miracles of God in a prophetic atmosphere like never before. Upo Citywide Crusade. Theme: the Lord, He is God. It will also feature anointed songs ministrations by Ambassador Chinyere Odoma and Minister Adrian Alex. The date is Tuesday, 28th of October at 4 p.m. and Wednesday, 29th of October 2025 at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And it will be happening live at Walter Eze Memorial Secondary School Field, former Boys Secondary School, opposite All Saints Anglican Church, Upo Dunukofia Local Government Area of Anambra State. For inquiries, call 0903 952 1048 or 0806 297 8399. Please note that there will be free transportation to the crusade ground. Upo Citywide Crusade. Come in faith and you shall see the power of God.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so you are listening to The Polity on the radio 104.7 FM. It's now 3 minutes past 10 a.m. My name is Franklin and Olisa Mbeki and Chisom Chinedu. All of us are together, and we're going to switch the gears now to talk about the outcome of the federal government midwife meeting between Dangote Refinery and Pengasson. We know how Pengasson went to strike because Dangote Refinery sacked some workers said to be in the numbers of 800, which the company denied. And we got into this very strike, but yesterday, the federal government was able to midwife a truce or an agreement between the two warring factions. And there are terms of this very agreement which Tony is going to give us, and then we now get into this conversation. So let's talk about the terms of this very agreement, which Pengasson said is like a graveyard piece. If Dangote Refinery fails to stick by it, that they're going to return to the trenches. And this time around is going to be with a clenched fist. So let's get to know the terms of this very resolution, Tony.
The terms are very simple. Very, very simple, because the terms means that every party would keep to it. The Pengasin recall, they suspended the strike. That's what they termed it. They suspended the strike. Remember, the umbrella body, the Nigerian Labour Congress, even got into it. In fact, many unions got into it. They suspended the strike on the condition that the 800 workers that were sacked, that were laid off, will be recalled. Dangote agreed to recall them, to bring them back in consonance with our laws, because the federal government spelled it out to Dangote that you can't throw away your law. And it boils down to that thing I have been saying. Most people are emotional. They will tell you that you're a member of Pengasi, you're sentimental, you're biased. And that thing I said, when I remember you asking me this question, Ebuka, what is the way forward? And I said the only way forward is for Dangote to record these people back. And that's what he has done. Life is not about emotion. Life is all about practicability. That's what life is all about. There are things that are ideal. And I said, your law says you can't lay off people. Even if you have a private business, you can't sack people that way. And I remember the last time we were here, we looked at the labor law. And we also quoted some sections. And we also quoted what is misconduct, what is gross misconduct, and then where they fall into. We said all these things. But Dangote said, yes, but if he bring back these workers, that he will reassign them, redeploy them to other ventures. He has Dangote Cement, Dangote this, Dangote that. And for me, it's okay, because your worker cannot tell you which branch of your operation he will work. You decide the branch. You decide the very group. You decide anything. But the most important thing, you cannot sack your worker the way you did. We are not Banana Republic. And some people what we do here is to enlighten you, to educate you. We tell you what your law says. And if your law says this, you must go and do what your law says. You can't come and turn it upside down because somebody is favoring you. Somebody has been promising you, or somebody has done something no one has done before. And federal government, we must commend them. They were quite on that. They told Dangote that this is our law. They have been supportive in all of this. During the issue with NNPC over Naira for crude. And we said, why would NNPC supply Dangote crude in Naira? Why would they do that in dollar? We all rallied behind Dangote and said there's no law that, in fact, it's against our law for you to say anything in Nigeria in foreign currency. It's against our law. The law says that whatever we've got here must be sold in local currency. You remember when EFCC went to Lekki and shut down a business? And why did they shut down the business? Through court order. Because they were selling gold. And they were selling that gold in what? In dollars. You must sell in Naira. That is what our law says. Yeah. So we rallied behind Dangote and then ensured that NNPC supplied them crude in Naira. Because the law says so. And then when it comes to issue of laying off staff, and we said the law says you cannot sack because you are reorganizing or you sense internal sabotage. You must mention that sabotage, and under labor law, there is a consequence. If it is theft, it's summary dismissal. If it is fraud, dismissal. And we named these things last time we were here. If it is lateness, it's not, you can't dismiss somebody for coming late. But if it becomes habitual, you terminate. That is redundancy. We discussed these things here under our labor law. We quoted the law, we cited the law. But some people will tell you, we will tell you, leave that. These people, they are this. See, where you are faulting, we'll tell you. And Dangote has accepted. And they have also agreed to lift whatever case they have before industrial court.
Do you see this thing being sustainable? I mean, this peace agreement, this peace. Do you not think that over time they might just find other means to still, I mean Dangote now, to still get what he wants in terms of making sure that, for starters, his workers have no business with unions and all of that?
I think the federal government told Dangote point blank. I read what the Minister of Labour did say, and also other people that were there. They told Dangote, these people, they have every right to unionize. The law has given them that right, power to belong to union. And you cannot sack them for belonging to union. The law has given them
The law
such.
has said that.
The law has said
But
that.
over time, we have seen the law being flouted in this country. I mean, River State is going to be a perpetual example in the minds of Nigerians, speaking about the state of emergency and the suspension of a sitting democratically elected governor. And so the point is, my question now is there going to be like a mechanism put in place by the federal government to make sure that Dangote abides? That he doesn't meander, in your words. He doesn't meander. Find another way to get his way. Probably by monitoring, by probably, what's it called now? By maybe ghost checking on them. Anything of that sort.
I know definitely things like this will come, because there will be a way that he may witch hunt these workers. So he has agreed that they will be back, they will be redeployed, and they will be allowed to join union, as the case may be. But they will be under strict supervision now. Strict supervision. So you can expect things like surcharge, because if you come late to work, they will keep deducting from yourself. In fact, they will frustrate you. You'll be the one that will quit on yourself. Because before you know it, they will make more strict company policy, where it will be expected that every member of those that were laid back and they were called back, they must adhere to it. They will be seeing surcharges from time to time. They will be seeing deductions from time to time. They will be seeing certain privileges the company may have given out being denied. So it's a way to get back to this worker. There is no doubt. But the most important thing is they are back, and the federal government has told Dangote, you were wrong, just as I did say, and I told Dangote, you were wrong. So, and he has accepted.
No, Tony, do you think that this very resolution still gives Dangote the room to go ahead with its plan in the downstream and the upstream without that so much hindrance that it was trying to avoid? Take for instance, the sacked workers are going to be redeployed to other entities within the Dangote group. Yeah. But this time around, it's not going to be in the refinery. Maybe he equally still found a way to ship them out, so that there will not be a clog in the wheel in the plans he has for his oil business. So do you say like Dangote also found a tactical way to still make the way for himself?
I think is yes for me, because he never wanted his workers to remain in the refinery for any reason. He has made up his mind over that, and that he got. They are not coming back to the refinery. So now they will be deployed to other entities. He has a number of entities under Dangote Group. There is no doubt. But look at the lost. Look at the lost. These 2 days, I think about 2 days, right?
Yeah, because I was about coming to that, because we need to look at what this very strike cost us as a nation. And if you also think that, because it's okay, let me put it this very way, it's going to be a contrasting question. One is, what did this strike cost us as a nation, and then what did it save us to?
I think the strike in view, it was just that strike a day, it cost the country 2.16 trillion naira. I will tell you how I arrived at that figure. A day of such strike cost the country 2.16 trillion. I mean, for one day. And then, if that strike had lasted, let's say, up to about 3 days, I think it ended 2 days, right?
Yes, we can call it 2 days, because this whole thing began on Monday. By Tuesday, we felt the impact. Wednesday, and they were able to find the solution that very Wednesday. So we can say it was 2 day strike.
So if it was 2 day strike, because you look at unsold inventory reported by MAN, and then there was unsold inventory, and then there was export drop, because export that could have been made, there was economic loss on exports, and I was told that over 110 $1,800,000 worth of exports could not make its way because of the strike. So if you convert all these things, it totals, I think, for a day, talking about the export that was lost. Then you also talk about the unsold inventory and so many things that's unsold inventory locally, and the exports that was not made. These things that tells you quite a lot. Just like I said, that 2-day strike caused the country invariably with disruptions and so many things that happened across the chain. 2.16 trillion. That's what it cost the country. Even Dangote has a bigger share of this loss. So, but that's by the way. Now, if you look at it, these things could have been averted. Look at such amount of money the country lost, Dangote lost because of this. What ordinarily could have been averted, just like I said. I don't want to talk about the importation of 2,000 Indians, because these 2,000 Indians, many of them that we were brought as a result of these 800 displaced. And are you going to still return the Indians? Are you going to also sack them again?
What is the true position
that is another thing.
Employment of Indians?
No. Indians were employed.
I mean, the
Indians
numbers, if we're up to 2,000, because we are, what you pointed out, Tony, is actually very critical. We might just have to degenerate into a minor crisis, because you don't bring 2,000 people, if there is any truth in that, give them a job, and then sack them. You ask the pertinent question, what is going to be done with them? Because having people of that magnitude add to our unemployment ratio, frankly, that's a problem.
But is that not being fixed for the fact that, the people you relieved are going to move to other subsidiaries. So the ones you employ are going to be returned there.
You hope they are going to move to other subsidiaries. Remember that when Dangote started this thing he's doing, so many other firms that do something similar to his have been suffering it. And so some of them have been owing workers. I am aware of some that have been owing their workers. Some of them have downsized quietly. So where would they move to?
I think Dangote, just like we are told, he has cement, he has sugar, he has flour, he has fertilizer. Apart from the oil and petrochemical, he also has agro sacks, he has Sinotrok, he has sugar cane. There are so many things you can talk about. In fact, he also has a foundation, and then he has a Granite Mines Limited. He's into mining. I can go on and tell you quite a lot.
Okay, so just to add to what you just said, because where we might see these collateral damages, that if they have maybe contract staff or ad hoc staff among those who were sacked, because I know that, just like I'm trying to borrow a leaf from what government does. Okay, let's use Anambra for instance.
Okay.
When Anambra Printing Corporation was folded, of course, workers who were engaged properly, government found a way to redeploy them to other ministries in Anambra State. And today, I know some of them who are engaged productively, but those who were ad hoc staff, they were not absorbed. So we might have a similar case with Dangote. If there are contract staff, ad hoc staff, they might be the ones because they might not be able to find a way to absorb them in some other places.
Yes.
Now let's go to River State quickly and see what is happening there, because if you read some newspapers, you see that they had this headline that the governor of River State, Fubara, sacked commissioners. And if you go through that very story, you see that those who were relieved of the appointment are those whose appointments were confirmed by the Jumbo-led or the Jumbo foreman-led House of Assembly when Rivers was in crisis. And he said that why he did what he did was because of the Supreme Court judgment which nullified the authenticity of that very house led by Jumbo, because Supreme Court recognized Martin Amewule as the authentic speaker of our River State House Assembly. So let's begin with the headline first. That caption, sack, how apt is it? Then we'll not talk about other things.
If you look at that very caption using judicial lengths or legal lengths, the word sack wouldn't have been the right word, because those commissioners before the law, they were non-existent. How can you sack something or someone who was before in the eyes of the law never existent? So it's not possible. So I think that very word sack is cosmetics in the sense that it was used to pass the message. Remember, one of the conditions, they have not also disclosed the terms and conditions of the agreement, the peace parley, the peace pact Fubara have with the government, the other the leader. No, some people are calling Nyesom Wike the Nebuchadnezzar of River State, but I wouldn't join to call him that name.
No, sorry. I need to digress now. Did you see the cartoon picture of Nyesom Wike and the Showore, in a ring fighting each other?
In fact, Showore has beaten Nyesom Wike. If I were to use scoreline to depict what I saw or what I've seen going, forward, Showore has beating Wike like say 7-2 now, because Wike just hit Showore in two places. Showore has been hitting back. In fact, employed his friend Adeinju to go and start questioning the Florida mayor, where they want to ensure that Wike house in Florida, the 3 houses he has, the 3 houses under the name of the wife and the 2 kids, that these things are liquidated. But that's by the way, that's not what we're talking about. So the pact Fubara has with Wike, as we are talking about, they did not disclose the terms and conditions, there's no doubt, but one of them has come to fruition, and one which is, you must relieve all these people that were never confirmed by Martin Amehule led State House of Assembly. In the eyes of the Lord, Uche Jumbo led house never existed, was never in existence. It was not captured because the Supreme Court ruling made it so. So he was asked to put these people aside and then bring in commissioners before Martin Amehule for confirmation. And then I'm going to let you know that before you bring in these commissioners, Nyesom Wike has to vet them.
So is the casualty of a man setting in for Fubara now?
Fubara is,
because these people who were confirmed are his men, and people who were confirmed by a Jumbo,
that's what I'm saying.
They are his men, and now he has relieved them. So do we know whether he would be able to reabsorb them?
No.
Why are we surprised?
No. Some of them, he was told that he will not bring them. Look at the chief of staff. If I were that chief of staff, I'm talking about a year. If I were Edison, I will go back to the house, because he also resigned before Uche Jumbo. He did not resign before Martin Amehule. So whatever Uche Jumbo led house did was wrong in the eyes of the law. So he also resigned he resigned as a member of the State House of Assembly under Uche Jumbo. So he can also go back and pick it up. And he was made the chief of staff when he resigned. So from the look of things, I know that Wike will put it clear to Fubara. Don't bring that Edison a year back again. He was one of those. He was offered money. According to him, he said he was offered billions. That's what he said. So to join the other camp, and he refused joining Wike, and now he is part of the victims. So, but if I were him, I would still go back and dust whatever resignation I've made and come back to the house and then begin a new chapter for myself. That's what I'm gonna do, because
so would that be opening a new chapter of the crisis, or this is what they're going to sit down? Because what is happening now in Rivers is like a political solution. So is it that what they're going to sit down and talk about and see how they can use that political solution to resolve all this? Because if he's going to go on his own, it might open up a new chapter of the crisis.
No, the point is, maybe one of the terms could be that he will not be reabsorbed. And then I said here that the commissioners that will be nominated again will be all of them will be in conformity, all of them will be in agreement. So it's not something Fubara is going to do alone. Fubara is no more alone. In fact, he's not the executive governor. Fubara is the governor, but not the executive governor. Do you know the meaning of the word executive? Executive means you have certain, you render the powers given to you by the constitution, by any extant law. You render such, in fact, you execute those powers. Now Fubara does not execute those powers. What it means that he has to get approval before doing that. So he's not executive governor. Fubara is the governor of Rivers State. So it's right for you to address him as governor, but it's also right for you to address him not as executive governor. It's not executive governor.
Oh well,
That word executive has been taken off by the peace party they had.
In
No, but that's true. But that's true.
Context.
But that's true.
Contextually,
That's
in
what it
act,
is.
possibly, but I mean, when you say it's wrong to address him as the executive governor, I mean that is what the
I'm
constitution
talking
says
about
it is.
technically. That's what I'm talking about.
Contextually.
So, technically, how can you address somebody as executive governor when he does not discharge executive
Okay, so
power? See, he does not.
Let me even
It's not.
just extrapolate. So, what is different between what Fubara is passing through now in River State and what many governors in Nigeria pass through? Why am I asking this?
Okay.
Many governors in Nigeria, whether they have godfathers or not, they came on the shoulders of some persons, and in one way or the other, these persons contribute to men they work with. There's no doubt about it. If you go to Kogi State, for instance, you can't tell me that the men of the immediate past governor Yahya Bello are not in that very government. If you go to Imo State, it might be a different case because the past governor and this present governor, they are not of the same stock. If you go to Abia, it might not be the same. If you come to Anambra, it might not be the same. If you go to Edo, the story could be different. If you go to Delta, it could be different. So there are some governors that's in one way or the other, they are the governors, but there are still people who call the shots somewhere who still influence their government decisions. So what is different between Fubara and these very people?
There's a lot of difference because Fubara was taken to the cleaners. So there's no doubt. I remember that he picked up a fight he could not finish. He could pick up a fight he could not finish. But we have said this many times. Most governors, remember, whenever they want to leave, they always anoint somebody. Chimaroke anointed Sullivan. But Sullivan fought Chimaroke and dislodged him from holding a stronghold and fought from controlling him. Ojuzokalo anointed Theodoji. But they fought. They fought like, I don't know how to put it. And they remember, there were other governors, I'm aware. I think the only time we've seen governors acting like one, if you come to River State, I want to talk about those who anointed the other person and they fought. Ganduje, of what we know, remember, Ganduje was anointed by Kwankwaso. Kwankwaso fought him to the point that he barred him from entering the state, and Kwankwaso was his deputy for 8 non-consecutive years. We saw how it ended. So in all of this, the political godsons in all of the previous fights had won. It was, in fact, it is only Fubara that lost. Sullivan won. Theodoji won. Ganduje won. I can go on and name them. Many of them. They all won. Fubara is the only person. Maybe it's because he fell under the trap of Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike has proven to others that you can still win your political godson with executive powers. Remember, there were those that had ministerial appointments.
So the difference now is that some of these persons you mentioned, of course, they finished their governorship of those very states and they didn't have access to the powers that be. But when we came for him, so fortunate and maybe politically sagacious, he has his root in the presidency, and that might have been the edge that he's enjoying.
Maybe that is the edge Wike is enjoying. And another thing there is this. I know many will also say, Tony did not add that he was backed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that others may not have been backed that way. So it's important we also mention that if this be the case during the time of Buhari may not have that time. I'm aware that another political godson that lost in this way, but it's a different case, was Ambode. Ambode lost the fight, but remember,
to the same man.
To the same man, Ambode lost the fight. But remember, Ambode was put in there by Tinubu, there's no doubt, and then he picked up the fight that he knew he could not finish. and it ended the way it ended. Remember, I'm also aware, even during the time of I think Ibrahim Sheba. I think I remember when he got in there, he couldn't find Yaradua because Yaradua put him there. Immediately Yaradua left, being the governor of Katsina State. Shehu Shema became the governor. He tried to, because the Yaradua of blessed memory had executive power. So
Tony,
I remember.
In all fairness, there is something that Nyesom Wike has that many politicians do not have. Why am I saying this? You made reference to Kano State. Let's give it to him whether he's doing the right way or not. You mentioned Kano State where Ganduje, in one way or the other, was in sync with the present governor, right?
Yeah.
And Ganduje has been in circles of governance. He just quit as national chairman of the APC.
Yeah.
But the man there is dealing with him.
Oh, you mean
Obasani is dealing with him, despite the fact that
Obasani has to do with Erufai.
No, not Yusuf, not Obasani.
You're talking about Yusuf
of Kano State.
Yes, because their fight is. I'm talking about immediate successor. I'm not talking about a distant successor.
No, I'm talking about people who have roots in the presidency and they were able to use it. I'm trying to compare Ganduje and Wike. That's why I said Wike, in all fairness,
you must give it to him.
You must give it to him.
You must give it to him.
This Wike's supposed strength is going to set. Don't you think, Tony, that in the coming days we would have more people towing the path that Wike has stored? Because, they would find a way to get.
I think Wike defined a new chapter. I remember Abdul Fattah Ahmed, the governor of Kwara State. He was anointed by Saraki. He fought Saraki and won Saraki. And I'm also aware that even Samuel Orton was anointed by George Akume. And George Akume lost the fight.
I understand what you're saying.
You must give it to. I can go and let you know how they anointed their predecessor and their predecessor.
Their successors.
I'm talking about the successor now, going on to fight the predecessor. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So we have had that in the past, and then we can define a new chapter.
And that's what I'm saying. Don't you think that this new chapter Wike has defined is going to set a dangerous precedence? Godfathers now feeling larger than life and having the effrontery to want to step strong foot into the structure and finances of the state.
Wike has set a dangerous precedence, not just even wrong, because many that had lost may have go back to read Wike
101,
Wike 101, or Wikimania. They will just Wikipedia. I think that's what it should be. Wikipedia. Wike, how did you get this? Many they lost.
Then
they lost. How did you get this?
Another factor will be who is at the federal level. If it's not a political player, whoever that might try might not be able to succeed.
And I remember
Wike said
that Amechi fought him when he became the governor, and Amechi had the federal power as the Minister of Transportation, and that was why Wike said that one General Sahem, you know the interview, that General Sahem was asked to kill him, to murder him. In fact, Amechi promised General Sahem that he will make him the chief of army staff. Remember that very interview he gave, but how he was able to fight back. That he was under the cover of, he was doing everything possible to get the support of Buhari. He built university for Buhari in Katsina State. He did a lot of things. In fact, he built a railway that connects Katsina to Maradi in Niger. But he was doing all those things to ensure that he retained that federal power. But at the end of the day, he was able to claw back, fight back, and then dislodge them, even with the General Sahem that was asked to kill him. So the most important thing is that Wike has defied certain norms, defied certain odds, and opened up a new chapter.
All right. Okay. For you to understand us clearly, we are not saying that what he's doing.
We are not justifying him.
We're looking from the point of politics.
We are not justifying him because he has set a dangerous precedent, just like I said earlier.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this very commercial break.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, How about you turn it to yellow? When this bread, mama, papa, they like when this bread, not you turn and do. When this bread, even children, they like when this bread, when this bread, Linta. When this bread, you get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. When this bread, when this yo, but you choma. When this bread, the champion.
When this bread, your tasty bread, you can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza, Atani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Yes, of course, it's time for you to get involved in this very conversation this very morning on The Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. We've been bringing you lots of development in the polity, talking about the Pengasin strike that has been suspended. We talked about what happened in Rivers State, where the governor of Rivers, Fubara, has relieved the appointment of some of the commissioners and political advisors who were screened and confirmed by Jumbo-led House of Assembly. And we also talked about the president's independence speech and the reactions that have trailed that. So we're going to open the phone lines for you now to join this very conversation. We have another thing pending. If we have time, we're going to bring it in regarding Lagos State government responding to the comment made by Mr. P2B over the demolition of some properties at a trade fair market in Lagos. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. Franklin.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, Olisa Mbeki, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
I regard to Chisom in the house. This is Monday Johnson, and I'm calling in from Onitsha. Mr. Speaker, I have I think two questions. Number one, last time when the race between Benjamin and the Dangote was ruling, some people came up to call this one economic sabotage, and some other people we are calling Benjamin that they are sabotaging the economy. Now, going by your calculation of what Nigeria lost in 2 days striking by Benjamin, and then also to come up and give us what Nigeria lost by by a week plus or thereabout. I was expecting you to come up and give us a figure so that we can be able to compare the two. If actually Nigeria lost 1.6 something trillion in 2 days, how much did making out 800 workers for a week plus? So that we can be able to understand who among is actually sabotaging Nigeria economy. That is number one question. Then number two, the only ground the president has to the state of emergency is when there is crisis that is a kind of imposing danger to national assets that can create economic hardship. Then the president has come up and the state of emergency. It has came and gone. Now, if Fubara come back in his full strength to claim his constitutional power, do the president have any power again to interfere in River State? Good morning.
Okay, thank you, Monday Johnson, for joining this very conversation. Good morning.
Wonderful morning to you.
Yes, you're welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deacon. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go on, Mr. DK.
Well, I want us to, the fact remains that Nigeria is not a producing nation.
Okay, DK, could you be more audible?
Hello?
Yes, better. Go on.
Yes, Nigeria is a consuming nation, not a nation that produces anything apart from the crude oil. Even the crude oil, I think China, Britain, US have almost taken over the gas and the oil in Niger Delta. Why am I coming out this way? If these Indians have been employed and are trying to bring back Nigerian workers, Indian government will never be happy with Nigeria. Having passed all the process to be employed in the company under merit, and all this federal government might and Pengasen, we are meant to, relieve the Indians of their work. The Indian government can come hard on Nigeria. And knowing fully well that Nigeria is not a producing nation, but a consuming nation, one policy, and you know that India is an ally of most of these world powers, Russia, US, Britain, mention them. So I found out that they must have to know the way they're going, not to treat these Indians, just like they treat Nigerian workers. Okay? So that's just the angle I'm looking at this. And coming to who is the master of the game, whether Wike is the master of the game or whoever is the master of the game of Godfather, the truth be told, I think such role I don't even admire it in any way. Even the current president back. Presently, he can't travel to America. You, all of you in the studio there, can travel to America, but your president cannot travel to America. He can't even address the United Nations. So, what kind of Godfather is he? A Godfather that control Lagos, you control River State. Let him go and control Borno State. Let him go to Katsina and control Katsina State. So, what we are looking at, you are just seeing some gullible people in that particular state. People that don't know their stand and don't even know whether they are governor, people that are just there.
All right, that will be all, TK.
Just like Fela sang in the thunder, these people are zombies. So I don't admire such people. In Anambra, you can't do that. There are in Ebonyi, you can't even do it in Ebonyi. You can't do it in most of the southeastern states here.
All right, thank you. And, thank you, TK. Thank you for understanding. Hello, good morning. Please don't forget that you have barely 2 minutes for you to make your contribution and then give room for your brother to come in because we want to accommodate everybody. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, your name?
My name is Akamera.
Akamera, go on from where?
Yes, I'm calling from Fiji.
Go on.
Right now I'm in Imo State. So I want to react on Dangote and the sacking of those workers. I always made it clear that what Dangote wants to do is for him to dominate and to be the sole, the only one that will be, dealing and selling this fuel up. That is the reason why he's doing all these things, so that he can control it as he's doing on cement and other products he has. He wants to control Nigeria so that he will tell us the amount, he will fix it. That is exactly what Dangote is trying to do. And also, I want to talk on Fubara. Fubara, sacking those commissioners is a welcome development. But what we are saying is this: did he take permission from Wike? Because I know that whatever he's doing now, he'll be taking permission from Wike. Or if he didn't do it, the fight will continue. So let him go and take order from UK before doing whatever he's doing, so that there will be peace in River State. So that's what I want to say.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Tony, take note. Maybe we'll find time to talk about it because this issue of Dangote wanting to dominate. Maybe if we can find a way to talk about it. Every industrialist or anybody who manufactures anything or anybody who makes any product or service available wants to dominate the market. But the approach is what might differ. So we'll take note of that. We're going to talk about it later. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, your name?
I'm Mr. Joseph. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Yes, go on, Mr. Joseph.
I want to talk about the federal government giving up to 300 billion to poor households of Nigeria. And when the speaker was making analysis, he was comparing, he said that the way he's describing it as if the thing is not clear to him. So I want to liken it to this one YouTube skill of Anambra State government. It is not working. I know that the three of you are Anambrarians. Three of you, you are Anambrarians, and they came from different local governments. One or two people make an investment and just bring up to three people from your different, one from Tony, one from you, and the one from the lady. Just three only. That is what I'm demanding from the whole Anambra State. The other day, you make sort of one woman, one councillor from on the south here. From Southtown, she said it is working. Just to bring people, independent people. So both governments, from the federal to the state, they are all just studying the people. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you for your input. Let's see who we have next. Good morning. Hello.
I am Great Dame. Asia Pakego, streaming the airwaves live from Osumoru.
All right. So the man from Osumoru, tell us what is happening in Osumoru, because finally, just hold on, please, hold on. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Come and gone. What lessons? Positive lessons or negative lessons? Democratically, a very dangerous precedent has been set by Wike. Now, I ask, is that how democracy is run? Into what danger would these politicians lead us? The reason why I'm afraid is this. Come 2027, we shall have to repeat this same ugly scenario. Very ugly indeed. Wike had ruled River State. Nobody disturbed him. Yes. Somebody put him up there. It's not that anybody put him up. The masses put him up there. Take him to one way or the other. Today, Wike has become, a stumbling block before an elected executive governor in the person of what a dangerous president in this country. But then you find out that we are now laughing at it. A time shall come in this country, in this contraption, where we shall be crying because of the life of their behaviors. Some places like a weekend, come 2027, they would like to win it all for president. But maybe at that time we are going to have it the way he likes it. Thank you very much this morning.
Okay, so can you hear me? Can you hear me? Because I wanted to ask him about what is happening in Osumo, because yesterday we saw the video of people of Osumo going to reclaim one of the churches that was abandoned long time ago because of terrorism in that very area.
Do you mean Osumo or Iseke?
Osumo.
Are you sure it's Osumo? Because
Osumo, yes.
The video I saw,
people clearing. I'm trying to remember the name of this very church. Yes.
If you remember the church,
Iseke happened first.
Okay.
Then Osumo.
Okay. The most important thing is the fact that as Nagwasi Onyala, Ada Wea Ntamo. The point is that I've been able to communicate to my people, and they actually say that there has never been a problem going forward, but the fear index, that perception that it could come from any quarter. There is this saying that if you are bitten by a bee, once you see a housefly, you run to the bush. So that's exactly what is going on here. But I must appreciate this boldness of our people. I saw Iseke people saying enough is enough, and these are places before now you cannot do anything, and they cannot believe that many of our brothers have not returned to the home for past 4 or 5 years, and it's very disturbing. And developments have installed some of the projects, buildings, filling stations, hotels that are sprawling in those areas. These things have been abandoned all this while. So it tells a lot. No meaningful development comes in a place or in an atmosphere where there is no peace, that is devoid of peace. At least our people, we must commend them for this effort they are making new.
All right.
Let's go to Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. And Molebara says, What rubber stamp Senate President can say is that more governors will join APC. Are we heading to a one-party system? There is no way we can kill opposition in this country. We can never have one party because if we do, nobody will question government of the day and hold it accountable. If we all join, who will speak on behalf of the masses? Let the kite perch and let the eagle perch as well. Retractor Biago Ikechukwu says, the speech of improvement is only heard and not felt on the prices of essential goods in the market. Are we going to eat the theoretical growth or the real growth that will reduce or stabilize the price of commodities? At this point, I am sure the leaders have exhausted their ideas and they are deliberately leading this nation to doom. No wonder they are busy talking about more governors joining APC. And how to start taxing sex workers. Franklin, you recall that?
Don't even go there.
Okay.
Now, people were asking questions yesterday. How can the federal government identify
Tony, don't even
sex
go
workers?
there.
How can you identify them before you tax them?
Okay.
This matter make we leave her for now.
They will have a union. Something for sex workers.
And maybe they go with POS too. Go on.
Myself, SJP says, a family or a country that knows how to borrow money from every financial institution will never know how to produce, rather consume. CBN has announced federal government's loan statistics, which is unbearable and heartbreaking. This set of Nigerian leaders absolutely lack knowledge of country management. Rather, they are good to share money. Nigerians are expecting media charts from the presidency. And Obina Williams is asking you, Tony, to shed more light on this ways and means as always talked about by the president. Sebastian Atligwe says that a statement credited to Dangote Group and Pengasan, he's suggesting that that law may not be essentially be abided by, all right, because the law, according to him, is about who is who in the country. I think I'll just leave it there. Basilugu says 65 years after independence, what we are celebrating, or what are we celebrating? No light, no power, generators are our national grid, no security, yet you leave home without knowing if you would return. The economy is broken. Hunger is killing people daily. Hospitals are graveyards while leaders fly abroad for care. There is no freedom. Nigeria deserves better. Comrade Henry Elu says Nigeria at 65, freed by her colonial masters and chained by her political leaders. Revolution is the only way out to salvage this country of messed up by monsters without conscience. Ukenaya says Tinubu's government and entourage are busy looting. That's what you said. Nigeria 250 million. Let them share 1 million to all and save the change.
Okay, so Tony, we have to wrap up now. Somebody asked a question. I don't know how we're going to manage this very time. Question regarding how much we lost in this 2-day strike. And if you look at the figures that have been put out by the NNPC GMD, talking about July, where he talked about Nigeria losing about 230,000 barrels of crude oil in a day. So if you do your mathematics with the price of a barrel in the international market now, you now know how much we lost. And then other things we need to summarize because we have like 2 minutes.
I just want to appreciate one of the comments. I think Basi Lugu, who said 65 years of independence. I'm going to come back to that. No light, no power, generators are our natural grid. Generators have become our natural grid, and no security when you leave home. I think that tells you everything. Summarizes what Nigeria is passing through, and Mr. President needs to factor some of these things maybe when he makes another speech. Now, coming back to somebody who asked something about ways and means. When we talk about ways and means, we are talking about money that comes through non-economic activity. When you print money, printing money may not necessarily mean printing physical money. When you credit government account with 30 trillion, they never had any balance in that account. You credited the government account with 30 trillion naira by the CBN, so they can make expenses, they can make withdrawals. That's the ways and means, because that money you credited from where? Because for you, they are running short of revenue, or they couldn't meet target. A lot of things needed to be done, and it will pile up in the economy. It will cost inflation. Mr. President said during that speech yesterday that 30 trillion had been paid back through economic activities. Remember, there was a way they tried to more like they committed that ways and means to bonds and all that. So that's what they did. So as against having it that way, because it will really dig a big hole in the economy. So ways and means, my brother, has to do with money that comes from non-economic activities. Money, the government know they dash money. Money must come from a particular source.
Okay, just quickly, something I raised about economic activities. Is there anything wrong with any manufacturer, industrialist, or the person who offers service wanting to dominate the market in a capitalist economy?
Everything is wrong with that. It started in the United States of America. I think I wanted to say it before now. I think there was a day I did say something like that. I remember the Chairman Antitrust Act of 1890. That was the first major federal antitrust law. And antitrust has to do with any law against monopoly. In US, it's called antitrust. There will be no time to explain why the name antitrust. Maybe any other day I'll have time to explain it. But no country will allow it. You are holding the economy of a nation to ransom. It's wrong.
Is it when you use unorthodox means to do that, or when you're pushing your... Take for instance, let's even use radio for instance. Okay. Yes, let's use radio for instance. You have different radio stations. Everybody wants to survive. And what we do is that you up your ante to ensure that you remain on top.
Okay, look at what government does. If there is somebody who does it so good and who has that monopoly, government will try to assist people that are having challenges to rise to that level so that the person does not dominate the market. Because if he does, there will be no competition. He fixes the price, he controls everything, and there will be... So every government, what he allows is healthy competition, and healthy competition helps the economy. So anything anybody does in a way that the person controls, dominate government, what it does in other countries is to set up or help enterprises that are into that same business to measure up with that person to allow competition. If you allow monopoly, definitely your economy is going, its doom is headed in a wrong direction. So that's what government does. They try to help others to rise up to the level. If you have a radio station and you're the only person on top, what government will do is to help other people who are into that same business for them to measure up so that there will be healthy competition. That's what it should be.
What it should be. But the big question is, do we always do the right thing? Do we always do what we should do? Maybe when we start doing that, Nigeria would be in a better place.
Okay, so we have to join South Sultan now because someone talked about generator. And South Sultan sometime did a song titled 2010 Light Up. He said, when we ask our government when we go see light, they say 2010 don't pass. Thank you all for listening. My name is Franklin and Chisom. Good morning.
Me, I say this government people.